my mentor, his name was Frank Wesley. He was interned in Buchenwald. He was picked up by the Nazis on Kristallnacht, and he became a psychology professor. Fascinating man, fascinating history. He told me, and he was a behaviorist. And a behaviorist is someone who believes that you can control behavior by looking at it in terms of stimulus and response. Oversimplified, but basically. So he told me this unbelievable story. So there was a kid, and I think if memory serves me correctly, this kid was in Washington, and he kept punching his face like this. And they tried everything, but they couldn't get this kid to stop punching his face. And so what they did was they put electrodes on his arms, and when he brought his hand up there, they zapped him. It only took two zaps for this kid to stop punching himself in the head. Now, Frank had this on VCR. I don't know if any of you were maybe older than you, but a VCR is like these analog tapes. They're not digital, and so I don't know. Maybe you should. I don't. Will people even know what a VCR is?
They'll know what VCR is. Yeah.
Okay. So the tape had a glitch in it. So he sent the tape down to the AV or whatever IT places that fixed it. And the place reported the tape for having content which displayed human cruelty. It basically violated a rule. And so they literally cut the piece of the tape out. So you don't see the guy punching him, but you can see the electrodes. And they also cut out the section that even explained that. So that knowledge is then lost to the rest of humanity because it's viewed as cruel. Now, whether or not you think it should be lost, that's another story entirely. Yeah. But the idea is that you can see how our institutions, based upon values that people have, determine the outcome of what people think is true. There was just something that came out recently about dog training. I can't remember the name of it, but you can put it on your screen. That there shouldn't be any punishment. A dog. I can't remember the name of it, but plus said there's dog training shouldn't have any punishment at all. It should be all reward. Okay, so that's ideological. That's not evidence based. So what happens now is the people, for example, in the behaviorists with the kid punching himself in the head, or woke ideology, or microaggressions, or any of this stuff, all of that is then fabricated. It lives in service to an ideology and not in service to the truth. And then people take this information and they believe it because they think it's true. And then they get out and they bring it to the workplace. They talk about it to their friends. So the whole society is harboring some delusions about things. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So let me ask you, does this become the story that you told? Is that selective? That's not selective hearing. Is it selective teaching? Is it selective influence? Is it controlling part of the information to help you come up with a different conclusion? And how often is that done, in academia?
Well, it's done. The reason it's done is because people's moral minds override their rational minds. Now, look, I'm not saying that. I mean, there's a reasonable conversation to be had, and I'm not really sure which side I fall on. About Dr. Mengelé's experiments on Jews, and should those, when he broke bones over and over again, should we look at that and use that to benefit humanity? Or is it was just so utterly monstrous, it shouldn't even be considered? We can have that conversation, but the point is that we're all doing our best to try to create systems here that are fair and just. And although they're not trying to create systems that are fair, they're trying to create systems that are equitable. But we're trying to do the right thing. And when you try to do the right thing, often you're living in service to an ideology. Your moral mind truth is no longer your North Star, right? So the purpose of the institution hasn't become defined what's true. It's to replicate the dominant moral orthodoxy.
Does this strategy work today? Meaning, like, the direction they're going with wokeism, with equity, with gaslighting, with confusing the hell out of all of us and pinning us against each other, is this a proven strategy long term? Because, you know, you're seeing what you're starting to see as well is how people on opposite sides are sitting there saying, listen, I disagree with my party, what they're doing here. I also disagree with my party. Maybe we got more things in common than before. I'm not sure this approach, maybe it worked 200 years ago, maybe it worked 100 years ago. Do you think an approach like this is going to work today in America?
I'm shocked by the question. It's already worked. It's astonishing.
Long term. You think long term this is sustainable?
Term.
Yeah, long term. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. In fact, it is utterly impossible to sustain itself long term. You would need a kind of tyranny. You know, you would need to totally upend free speech. But it's interesting if you look at surveys, for example, from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education. Yeah. It's Gregory Boghossian's organization. 1 in 4 college students believe that violence is acceptable to college lecturers. That's an astonishing to guest lecturers who come in. It's an astonishing number of people who don't feel. I think 40% don't feel they can ask questions or ask difficult questions if it's on a moral topic. I mean, it's across the board. We're seeing this effect incredibly successful in the short term, but not successful in the long term.
I don't think so, because if you think about what happened in Canada, Toronto, when the University of Toronto, I think it was when they came out with the here's what we're going to be doing, and the controversy with Jordan Peterson. Right. Let's take that out. Let's say that event doesn't take place. Do you think Jordan Peterson is as famous as he is today? Think about it.
No.
Take that event out. Who is Jordan Peterson? So I think what they're also doing is they're giving birth to Jordan Peterson, to Gatsa, to people like yourself, to the Rogans of the world. They're getting others to say, to a Russell Brand of the world, a Bill Maher of the world, to some people that maybe they would have never given birth to. They're like, wait a minute, this shit just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm backing off because I no longer agree with you because we're not on the same page. So I just don't think long term this approach of bullying is sustainable, because what is the power of a free thinker? If you think about a free thinker, what's their DNA? They question things, they're curious, and they typically don't stop at no. They don't stop at mind your own business. So they don't do well with bullies. They typically stand up to bullies, and eventually bullies can bully the regular guys. They're like, oh, okay, I don't want to have any conflict. But until you face a free thinker, like, okay, I don't like messing with this guy. He's different. So you're going to give a lot of birth to free thinkers like Jordan Peterson over the next decade, because I just don't think a lot of the free thinkers are going to stand there and just say, we're going to take all the bullying from you. I see that not taking place.
That's right. No, that's right. And Jordan has done an amazing job of that. My friend Gad has done an amazing job of that. So the question is, how do we empower other people to stand up and fight back against this ideology? That's one question. Not only is this not sustainable, listen, nobody likes living like this. Nobody likes being petrified of what they can say. Yeah. But people have been canceled because they were bullies in grade school. Are you freaking kidding me? They were bullies when they were 6, and now that you're denying them employment, or you're complaining to their advertisers that they're white supremacists, which doesn't even have anything to do with it. And so not only do people not like living like this, but the question is, what damage is this going to do to our institutions in the short term? I mean, it's already done a tremendous amount of damage.
By the way, you were talking about Nobel Prize earlier, so I went and looked up when you were talking to see who's won over the years. Armenian, Bengali, 4 people. Armenian 1 apparently. Chinese 12 people. Hokkien 1. Jewish, I'll get to Jewish last. Pashtuan Nobel is 1. Punjabi is 2. Tamil is 3. Tibetan is 1. And how many you think is Jewish, based on what you said? What do you think the number is?
Well, the Jews aren't even 2% of the population. So significantly
198 people of Nobel Prize laureates by ethnicity. 198. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And another article just came out yesterday that by the head, Goran Hansson, head of Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, said they want people to win because they made the most important discovery. We will not have gender or ethnicity quotas, says top scientists. Interesting. Good for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a merit-based system. And again, so the question is, two questions. One, drill down the data and you'll find that they're overwhelmingly Ashkenazi Jews, and they're overwhelmingly from certain region of the planet. But the question is, well, why is that the case? That gets us a little far afield in our topic, but I brought that up because you can't say that if you're on the woke left, you can't say that biology has anything to do with it.
So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.